Turn it off! Turn it off!
It was supposed to be the happiest night of his life. But when the projector flickered, the groom's laughter died. One wrong clip, and the truth everyone feared played itself. Now let's rewind, back to where it all began. Morning light barely touches the edges of a single room. The walls are pale yellow, cracked near the corners where the paint has given up. A small laptop sits on a wooden table that wobbles slightly with every keystroke. The screen glows with wedding footage, champagne glasses clinking, brides laughing, grooms spinning their wives under chandeliers. Tunde leans close to the screen, his eyes tired but focused. His fingers move across the keyboard, trimming seconds, adjusting color. The laptop fan whirs like it's gasping for air. Behind him, on a narrow bed pushed against the wall, his mother lies beneath a thin blanket. Her breath comes soft, then breaks into a cough that rattles her chest. He turns quickly, concern pulling at his face. She waves a hand weakly, telling him it's nothing. He stands, pours water from a plastic bottle into a cup, brings it to her lips. She drinks slowly, her eyes apologizing for the interruption. "Rest, Mama. Please." She nods, but her gaze lingers on him, on the dark circles under his eyes, the way his shoulders curve inward from too many nights bent over that screen. She knows he's trying. She knows he's tired. But she also knows he won't stop. He returns to the laptop, presses play again. The couple on screen looks so happy, so unaware that the man filming them went home with barely enough for transport. Tunde's jaw tightens, but he doesn't let the bitterness settle. He saves the file, closes the screen, and whispers a prayer under his breath. The sun climbs higher, and the neighborhood wakes. Sounds of car horns, vendors calling out prices, children shouting as they run to school. Tunde steps outside, camera bag over his shoulder, and walks through the narrow streets. People greet him by name. He's known here, not famous, but familiar. The calm cameraman. The one who never raises his voice, never argues, just nods and does the work. He stops at a corner shop, buys bread and milk with coins counted carefully. The shopkeeper adds an extra roll without asking for payment. Tunde tries to refuse, but the man insists. "You do good work. Take it." Tunde thanks him, voice quiet, and continues walking. The weight of kindness sits heavy on him. He wonders how long he can survive on goodwill alone. A voice calls from behind. "Tunde, wait up!" He turns. Emeka jogs toward him, younger, leaner, with fire in his eyes that Tunde sometimes envies. Emeka is his assistant, his only assistant, unpaid most weeks but loyal anyway. He carries a tripod under one arm and a borrowed microphone in the other. "You ready for today?" Tunde nods. "We have the Adiemi event. Small. Shouldn't take long." Emeka's face darkens. "I heard Desmond booked you again." Tunde doesn't respond right away. He adjusts the strap on his bag, looks down at the uneven pavement. "He did. After everything? After what he did to your mother?" "I need the money, Emeka." "He won't pay you. He never does." "Then I'll take what he gives and move on." Emeka shakes his head, frustration written across his face. "One day, Tunde. One day, they'll pay for this." Tunde meets his eyes, steady and sad. "Maybe, but not by my hand." They walk together in silence. The city moves around them, indifferent to their struggle. Somewhere in a high-rise office, Desmond is probably sipping imported coffee, planning his wedding, deciding which vendor to humiliate next. The memory plays in Tunde's mind without permission. It was 6 months ago. An engagement shoot at Desmond's family estate. Marble floors, gold fixtures, staff dressed in white gloves. Tunde was there to capture every angle, every smile. Desmond's fiancée, Miriam, looked nervous even then, laughing too hard at jokes that weren't funny. Tunde was packing up his equipment when the shouting started. Desmond's voice cut through the evening air like broken glass. "Someone stole my watch." Guests froze. Staff looked at each other, panic spreading. Desmond stormed through the room, his eyes landing on every person who didn't look wealthy enough to belong. Check the cleaners, check the help. Tunde's heart dropped. His mother had been hired to assist with the cleaning that day. She was in the kitchen, wringing out a mop when Desmond pointed at her. Search her. Sir, she's just... Search her. Security moved in. His mother's face went pale, her hands trembling as they asked her to empty her pockets. She had nothing, just a worn handkerchief and a small coin purse with barely enough for bus fare. But Desmond wasn't satisfied. He called the police. Within the hour they arrived, and his mother was taken in handcuffs. Tunde begged, pleaded, tried to explain. But Desmond stood there, arms crossed, watching with something close to satisfaction. If you can't afford a lawyer, stay poor. Those words burned into Tunde's chest like a brand. He borrowed money from neighbors, from church members, from anyone who would listen. It took 2 nights to gather enough for bail. 2 nights his mother spent in a filthy holding cell, sitting on cold concrete, coughing into her hands. When Tunde finally brought her home, she was different, quieter. Her eyes carried a shadow that hadn't been there before. Within a week, the cough started. Within 2, it wouldn't stop. The doctor said it was an infection, likely from the unsanitary conditions. "Don't ever work for that man again," she whispered, one night, her voice hoarse. Tunde promised. He meant it. But medical bills don't wait for promises. Prescriptions cost more than he made in a month. The hospital demanded payment up front. His mother needed treatment, needed rest, needed medicine he couldn't afford on jobs that paid in exposure and pocket change. So when Desmond's assistant called, offering a wedding booking, his wedding, Tunde closed his eyes, swallowed his pride, and said yes. Emeka didn't speak to him for 3 days after that. Now, as they arrive at the venue for a smaller event, Tunde sets up his camera with practiced efficiency. The couple is young, shy, holding hands like they're afraid to let go. Their families aren't wealthy, but they're joyful. Laughter echoes through the modest hall. Children run between tables. Grandmothers wipe tears from their cheeks. Tunde captures it all. The bride's father dancing with stiff knees. The groom's mother adjusting his tie for the 10th time. Emeka films the wider shots, his movement smooth and confident. When the event ends, the couple approaches Tunde with an envelope. Inside is the agreed amount plus a little extra. "Thank you," the groom says, shaking his hand. "You made our day feel special." Tunde smiles, the first real smile in weeks. "You made it special. I just recorded it." On the way home, Emeka nudges him. "See? Good people still exist." "I know. Then why do we keep working for the bad ones?" Tunde doesn't have an answer. Or maybe he does, but it's too painful to say out loud. Survival makes people compromise. Desperation makes them bend. The next few days blur together. Editing, errands, checking on his mother, counting coins. The wedding date approaches like a storm cloud on the horizon. Tunde tries not to think about it, but Emeka won't let him forget. "We could cancel, say you're sick, and lose the deposit? He'll sue me, Emeka." Or worse. "So what? We just show up and let him treat you like dirt again?" "We show up, we do the job, we leave." Emeka clenches his fists, but says nothing more. The morning of the wedding arrives cold and gray. Tunde wakes before dawn, checks his equipment 3 times, makes sure every battery is charged, every lens is clean. His mother watches from the bed, her eyes full of worry. "You don't have to do this." "I do, Mama." "No. You think you do. There's a difference." He kneels beside her, takes her hand. Her skin feels paper thin, fragile. "I'll be okay, I promise." She doesn't look convinced. "That man has no soul, Tunde. Be careful." He kisses her forehead, picks up his bag, and leaves before she can say anything else. The venue is a 5-star hotel with chandeliers that cost more than houses. White roses line every surface. A champagne tower stands in the center of the reception hall, Glasses stacked so high they seem to touch the ceiling. Violinists warm up in the corner. Drones hover outside, capturing aerial shots of the guests arriving in expensive cars. Tunde and Emeka enter through the service entrance. Staff members rush past them, carrying trays, adjusting tablecloths, shouting instructions. No one acknowledges them. They're invisible here, just another pair of hands hired to make the day perfect. Desmond appears in a white tuxedo, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He barks orders at the event planner, criticizes the flower arrangements, snaps his fingers at waiters. His bride Miriam stands near the dressing room door, her face pale beneath layers of makeup. She looks like she wants to disappear. Tunde sets up his camera near the altar, adjusting angles, testing the lighting. Emeka assembles the tripod, his movement sharp with barely controlled anger. "Stay calm," Tunde whispers. "I'm trying." The ceremony begins. Guests fill the rows, dressed in silk and diamonds. The music swells. Miriam walks down the aisle, her smile forced, her steps hesitant. Desmond watches her approach with the expression of someone inspecting a purchase. Tunde films it all, the vows that sound rehearsed, the kiss that lasts exactly 3 seconds, the applause that feels polite rather than joyful. Through the lens, he sees what the guests don't. The slight tremble in Miriam's hands, the way Desmond's jaw tightens when she stumbles over a word. After the ceremony, the reception begins. Desmond moves through the crowd like a king, accepting congratulations, laughing too loudly at his own jokes. Tunde and Emeka follow, cameras rolling, capturing toasts and dances, and forced smiles. Then it happens. Tunde is filming near the DJ booth when he adjusts his position, stepping back to get a wider shot. His foot catches the base of a light stand. It wobbles, tips slightly, but doesn't fall. Nothing breaks. Nothing is damaged, but Desmond sees. He crosses the hall in seconds, his face twisted with rage. Guests turn, conversation stopping mid-sentence. Desmond grabs Tunde by the collar, jerking him forward. "Are you stupid?" Tunde's camera swings on its strap. He reaches up slowly, carefully, to steady himself. "I'm sorry. Nothing was... Do you know how much these lights cost? More than you'll make in a year. I didn't. If I wanted amateurs, I'd call beggars off the street." The room goes silent. Every eye is on them. Miriam stands frozen near the cake table. Guests whisper behind their hands. Someone mutters, "It's his wedding day. He should calm down." But Desmond doesn't calm down. He shoves Tunde back, releasing his collar with a sneer. "Touch anything else, and you're out. Without pay." Tunde steadies himself, picks up his camera, and continues filming. His hands don't shake. His face doesn't show anger. He simply returns to work as if nothing happened. But Emeka's hands do shake. His knuckles are white around the camera grip. His breathing comes fast and shallow. "Not now," Tunde whispers without looking at him. Emeka exhales hard, nods once, and keeps filming. The reception continues, but the mood has shifted. Servants exchange glances. Waiters move more carefully around Desmond. Even the DJ seems nervous, checking his equipment twice before playing each song. During dinner, Desmond stands to give a speech. He talks about success, about building empires, about surrounding yourself with excellence. He doesn't mention love. He doesn't mention Miriam. When he sits down, the applause is scattered and brief. Tunde films it all. Every uncomfortable moment, every fake smile, every second of a wedding that feels more like a business merger than a celebration. As the night winds down, Desmond summons Tunde to a back hallway, away from the guests. Emeka tries to follow, but Tunde motions for him to wait. Desmond pulls an envelope from his jacket, tosses it at Tunde's feet. It lands in a shallow puddle near a service door. "Transport money. You'll get the rest when I feel generous." Tunde bends slowly, picks up the envelope. It's damp, crumpled. Inside are a few bills, not even half of what was agreed. "This isn't... It's what you're worth." Take it or leave it. Would you forgive him if it were you? Comment below and let us know. Tunde tucks the envelope into his pocket. He doesn't argue, doesn't plead. He simply nods, turns, and walks back to collect his equipment. Emeka sees his face and knows. He didn't pay you. He paid enough to cover Mama's medicine this week. That's not enough, Tunde. It's what we have. They pack in silence, loading equipment into bags, dismantling tripods, coiling cables. Guests are still dancing, still drinking, still pretending everything is perfect. No one notices the two men leaving through the service exit. Outside, rain has started to fall. Soft at first, then harder. Tunde and Emeka walk through empty streets, their clothes soaking through, equipment bags heavy on their shoulders. Streetlights reflect in puddles, turning the city into a watercolor painting of shadows and gold. Tunde doesn't speak. He just walks, one foot in front of the other, carrying the weight of humiliation and unpaid labor and a mother who deserves better. When he finally reaches home, it's past midnight. His mother is asleep, her breathing labored, even in rest. He sets down his bag carefully, pulls out the crumpled bills, smooths them on the table. Tomorrow, he'll buy her medicine. Tomorrow, he'll figure out how to pay next week's rent. Tonight, he just sits in the dark, too tired to move, too heartbroken to cry. Don't skip what happens next. It will break you. Emeka doesn't go home. He goes to his own cramped apartment, throws his equipment in the corner, and paces like a caged animal. His mind races, replaying every insult, every sneer, every moment Desmond treated Tunde like garbage. He opens his bag, pulls out a memory card. It's from months ago, the engagement shoot. He'd forgotten he still had it, tucked in a side pocket, never formatted after the chaos of that night. He plugs it into his laptop, scrolls through the files. Most are standard shots, posed portraits, group photos. But then he finds something else. Footage he captured while testing the camera before the shoot started. A hotel room door, slightly ajar. Voices inside. He'd been walking past, checking lighting in the hallway, when the camera accidentally recorded through the gap. Desmond's voice. A woman's laughter. Not Miriam's laugh, someone else's. The best friend. The maid of honor. The timestamp reads 3 months before the engagement. The audio is clear. The implications are devastating. Emeka stares at the screen, his heart pounding. He thinks about Tunde's mother, arrested for a crime she didn't commit. He thinks about Tunde, working himself to exhaustion for scraps. He thinks about Desmond, throwing money at the ground like feeding stray dogs. His finger hovers over the delete button. Then he pulls out a blank drive, copies the file, and labels it carefully. The next morning, Tunde sits with his mother while she takes her medicine. She swallows the pills with difficulty, chases them with water, then leans back against the pillow. Did he pay you fairly? Tunde smiles, the lie coming easily. He did. Don't worry about it. She studies his face, doesn't believe him, but doesn't push. You're too kind for this world, my son. You raised me that way. I know. Sometimes I wonder if I should have taught you how to fight back. You taught me something better. You taught me dignity. Her eyes fill with tears. She reaches for his hand, holds it tight. Dignity doesn't pay bills. No, but it lets me sleep at night. She squeezes his hand, then closes her eyes. Tunde sits with her until her breathing steadies, then retreats to his editing corner. The laptop opens to his current project, Desmond's wedding. He watches the footage, cutting together moments that tell the story of a perfect day that wasn't. His phone buzzes. A message from Emeka. We need to talk. They meet at a small cafe on the edge of the neighborhood. Emeka orders a nothing, just sits across from Tunde with a look that makes Tunde's stomach tighten. What did you do? Emeka pulls out a USB drive, sets it on the table between them. I'm giving you a choice. What is this? Justice or revenge, depending on how you see it. Tunde stares at the drive like it might explode. Emeka, what did you do? I didn't do anything yet, but I found something from the engagement shoot. He explains. The footage, the hotel room, Desmond with the best friend, the audio, the timestamp, everything. Tunde's face goes pale. You can't use that. Why not? Because it's not who we are. Maybe it's who we need to be. No. Tunde pushes the drive back across the table. We don't destroy people, not even people who deserve it. He destroyed your mother. He humiliated you in front of everyone. He'll do it again, Tunde, to someone else, because no one ever stops him. So we become like him? We ruin lives? We expose the truth? Their voices rise, drawing stares from other customers. Tunde lowers his voice, leans forward. Delete it, please. Emeka picks up the drive, closes his fist around it. You're a better man than me. I'm just tired, Emeka. I'm tired of fighting, tired of anger, tired of everything. Let it go. Emeka nods slowly, pockets the drive, and stands. Okay, for you, I'll let it go. But as he walks out of the cafe, his jaw is set in a way that makes Tunde's chest tighten with worry. Hit like, if you believe no one deserves to be treated this way. 2 days later, Desmond's assistant calls. There's an after-party planned, an exclusive event for close friends and family to watch the wedding film and celebrate again. Tunde is expected to deliver the final edit and present it. I already sent the files, Tunde says into the phone. Mr. Desmond wants you there personally. He says it's part of the package. It's not in the contract. He's insisting. Tunde closes his eyes. Of course he is. One more opportunity to make Tunde feel small. When? Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., the same venue, dress presentably. The line goes dead before Tunde can respond. Emeka helps him prepare the presentation. They load the files onto a laptop, test the projector connection, make sure everything runs smoothly. Emeka is quiet, focused, his movements precise. You're being weird, Tunde says. Just want everything perfect. Since when do you care about perfection for Desmond? Since I realized you're right. We should do this properly, professionally. Give him no reason to complain. Tunde doesn't quite believe him, but he's too exhausted to argue. The next night, they arrive at the hotel. The ballroom is smaller this time, intimate, filled with Desmond's inner circle. Champagne flows. Laughter echoes. Miriam sits in the corner, smiling dimly, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Desmond greets Tunde with a handshake that feels like a display for the guests. Good to see you. Let's make this quick. Tunde sets up the projector, connects his laptop, runs a test. Everything works perfectly. Emeka stands near the back, arms crossed, watching. The lights dim. Guests settle into their seats. The MC's voice booms through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's relive this beautiful day. Mr. Desmond and his lovely bride, Miriam. Applause fills the room. Tunde clicks play. The screen flickers to life. Music swells. Soft. Romantic. The first shot appears. The hotel exterior at dawn. Sunlight on white roses. Then the image changes. A hotel room. Dim lighting. A door slightly open. Voices, Desmond's voice. Distinct and clear. A woman's laughter, not Miriam's. The camera angle shaky, like it wasn't meant to capture anything. The date stamp reads 3 months before the engagement. The audio comes through the speakers, loud and unmistakable. She'll never know. What if someone sees? Then they'll keep their mouth shut if they know what's good for them. More laughter, movement in the frame, enough to understand. Not enough to misinterpret. The room goes silent. Then someone gasps, then someone else. Miriam stands slowly, her face drained of color. Her hands shake. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Desmond lurches forward, knocking over a chair. Turn it off! Turn it off! Tunde stares at the screen, horrified. He spins to the laptop, but the file keeps playing. He hits stop. Nothing happens. He yanks the cable. The screen goes black, but the damage is done. Guests erupt in chaos, voices overlapping, shouts, accusations. Miriam's mother rushes to her daughter, wrapping her in arms. Miriam collapses into her, sobbing. Desmond turns on Tunde, his face purple with rage. "What did you do? I don't know how." "You sabotaged me. You destroyed my wedding." Emeka steps forward from the back. "He didn't do anything." "I did." Every head turns. Tunde's heart stops. "Emeka, no." "You taught me truth, Tunde. I just gave it a microphone." Desmond points at them both. "Guards, arrest them. Both of them. Now!" Security moves in, but guests are recording on their phones. Dozens of cameras pointed at Desmond, at the screen, at the chaos unfolding. Someone live streams. Comments flood in real time. Emeka doesn't resist as they grab his arms. Neither does Tunde. They're led out through the main doors this time, not the service entrance. Flashes from phones light up their faces. Outside, a small crowd has gathered. Words spread fast. Phones are everywhere. They expose the billionaire Groom. Justice for the videographer. This man refused to pay him. The hashtags start before they even reach the police car. And the camera, that spoke. A justice fortuned. Desmond's lies. Only manipulators will scroll without reacting. Share this story. At the station, Tunde and Emeka sit in a holding room. Tunde's head is in his hands. Emeka sits calmly, almost peacefully. "You broke my rule. I know. You could have ruined both of us. Or freed both of us. This isn't freedom, Emeka. This is a cell. For now." Tunde looks up at him, exhausted. "Why?" "Because I watched your mother get arrested for something she didn't do. I watched him throw money at your feet. I watched you smile through humiliation because you're too good to fight back. Someone had to. That wasn't your decision to make." "Maybe not, but I made it anyway." Before Tunde can respond, an officer opens the door. "You've both been released." They stare at him. "What?" "Lawyers outside. Posting bail. Also, the whole city's watching this station. Captain says to let you go before it becomes a riot. Subscribe if you stand for justice and fairness." They walk out to flashbulbs and microphones shoved in their faces. A woman in a sharp suit guides them through the crowd, her voice calm and commanding. "Say nothing to the press. Not yet. We'll issue a statement later." "Who are you?" Tunde asks. "Legal representation. Pro bono. Your story went viral an hour ago. Half the country is talking about you. People are donating to cover your mother's medical bills. Others are coming forward with testimonies about Desmond, unpaid wages, contract violations, harassment. We're building a case." Tunde's legs nearly give out. Emeka catches his elbow, steadies him. The lawyer continues. "We're also reopening your mother's arrest. Multiple witnesses from the engagement party have come forward saying Desmond's accusation was false. He never even filed a police report, just used intimidation to have her detained." Tunde can't speak, can't breathe. The world is spinning too fast. "Get some rest," the lawyer says. "We'll talk tomorrow. And gentlemen, you're going to be okay." They take a taxi home. The driver recognizes them, refuses payment. "You did the right thing," he says. "That man needed to be exposed. If you believe pride has limits, let the world hear your voice in the comments." When Tunde walks into his apartment, his mother is awake, sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face. She's watching the news on a small television someone donated weeks ago. "Tunde!" He crosses the room, kneels beside her, and lets her pull him into her arms. She sobs into his shoulder, holding him like she did when he was a child. "The whole world saw you," she whispers. "They saw what he did. They saw. I didn't want this, Mama." "I know. But sometimes justice finds us anyway." Over the next few days, the story explodes. News channels run features. Talk shows debate morality and revenge and the power of truth. Former employees of Desmond's company come forward with their own stories. Years of abuse, manipulation, unpaid overtime, threats. Investors pull funding, sponsorships drop. Headlines scream, "Billionaire Groom exposed, empire crumbling." Desmond tries to do damage control, issuing statements, claiming manipulation, threatening lawsuits. But every time he speaks, more people come forward, more evidence surfaces. The truth is a flood, and he's drowning. Miriam files for annulment. Her statement is brief. I deserve better. All of us do. The public rallies behind Tunde. Donations pour in, enough to cover his mother's treatment, to replace his equipment, to give him breathing room for the first time in years. One evening, Tunde sits with Emeka on a bench outside the hospital, where his mother is receiving proper care now. No more waiting, no more delays. Nurses treat her with respect. Doctors take time to explain everything. You broke my rule, Tunde says again, softer this time. And you got your freedom, Emeka replies. Tunde sighs, long and deep. Maybe kindness needed courage beside it. I don't know if what you did was right, but I know what he did was wrong. And I know we're still here. We're more than here. We're heard. Is that enough? Ask your mother. Inside the hospital, through the window, they can see her laughing with a nurse, color returning to her cheeks, life returning to her eyes. Tunde smiles. Yeah, it's enough. Months pass. The legal case against Desmond results in fines, settlements, mandatory restitution to former employees. He doesn't go to prison. Men like him rarely do. But his reputation is shattered. His business struggles. His name becomes a cautionary tale. Tunde uses the donated funds to open a small studio. Nothing fancy. Just a clean space with good lighting, proper equipment, and a sign outside that reads, Lens of Truth Studios. He films weddings still, but only for couples who treat him with respect. He hires young filmmakers, pays them fairly, teaches them not just how to capture moments, but how to honor them. Emeka works beside him, now a full partner. They laugh more. They argue less. They build something real. One afternoon, a modest couple walks in, young, nervous, holding hands like their lives depend on it. They explain they don't have much money, but want their wedding filmed. Tunde quotes them a fair price. They exhale in relief. Thank you, the bride says. We were worried after everything we've heard about videographers taking advantage. Tunde smiles gently. Not here. Here we capture love, never pride. Share this if you think humility is not weakness. The couple leaves excited, planning their day. Emeka adjusts the focus on a camera, glances at Tunde. Good line. Felt right? Think it'll stick? I hope so. Outside, the city moves on. Cars honk, people hurry to work. Life continues, indifferent to individual struggles and victories. But in this small studio, something has changed. Something has shifted. Tunde's mother visits sometimes, bringing food, asking too many questions about business, fussing over equipment she doesn't understand. Her health has improved. Her smile has returned. She watches her son work with pride that breaks and mends her heart at the same time. The world finally saw you, she tells him during one visit. They saw both of us, Mama. And I think that's all we needed. To be seen, to be heard, to matter. She kisses his forehead like he's still young. You always mattered. They just finally realized it. The studio thrives. Not wealthy, but stable. Not famous, but respected. Tunde films love stories. Real ones, messy ones, beautiful ones. He captures laughter and tears, and promises made with shaking voices. And every time he looks through his lens now, he sees something he couldn't before. Not just the image, not just the moment, but the dignity in it, the truth. Emeka stands beside him at a wedding one Saturday, a couple dancing under string lights, their families clapping, children running wild. The scene is chaotic and perfect. You ever regret it? Emeka asks quietly. Regret what? Any of it. The humiliation, the struggle, the whole mess. Tunde thinks for a long moment. The camera in his hands feels lighter than it used to. No, because it led here, and here feels right. Even after everything? Especially after everything. They film until the stars come out. When the couple thanks them at the end of the night, Tunde shakes their hands and means it. When he says, "It was an honor." Walking back to the studio under a sky full of city lights, Emeka nudges him. "So what's next? Another wedding next week? 3 weddings, and a proposal shoot, and someone wants us to film their family reunion. Look at us, busy." "Yeah, look at us." They walk in comfortable silence. The city hums around them. Somewhere, Desmond is probably signing legal papers or sitting in meetings with accountants who explain just how much he's lost. Somewhere, Miriam is rebuilding her life with people who actually love her. And somewhere, in a small apartment with cracked yellow walls, Tunde's mother sleeps peacefully, her breathing steady, her dreams no longer haunted by filthy holding cells or courtroom threats. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a mother recovering, a son sleeping without nightmares, a studio with a sign that promises truth. Tunde unlocks the studio door, flips on the lights. The space glows warm and welcoming. Cameras lined up on shelves, editing stations humming softly, a calendar on the wall filled with bookings. Emeka heads to the back to organize equipment. Tunde stands in the doorway for a moment, taking it all in. His phone buzzes. A message from a new client. "Heard your story. Want you to film our wedding, not because you're famous, because we trust you." He types back, "It would be our honor." Outside, the city continues its endless rhythm. But inside this studio, in this moment, there is peace. Hard-won. Honest. Real. Tunde closes the door behind him, sits at his editing desk, opens a project file. A wedding from last week. A couple who laughed through their vows and cried during the first dance. He watches the footage, makes small adjustments, and whispers to himself, "Now we capture love, never pride." The words echo in the empty studio. A promise, a principle, a truth he'll carry forward in every frame he films, every story he tells, every moment he preserves. Emeka returns from the back room, carrying a box of new memory cards. "We're running low on storage. Should order more." "Add it to the list." "Also, that couple from last month, they referred us to 5 of their friends. 5 weddings, Tunde." Tunde looks up from the screen, a smile tugging at his lips. 5? People talk. Good work travels. So does bad. Yeah, but we're on the right side of that now. Tunde nods, returns to his editing. The couple on screen looks so in love, so unaware of how lucky they are to have found each other. He trims a few seconds, enhances the audio of their laughter, and saves the file. His mother's words return to him unbidden. Dignity doesn't pay bills. She was right then. But something shifted. Dignity didn't pay bills, but truth did. Truth brought people forward. Truth brought support. Truth brought justice, even if it arrived in ways he never expected. He thinks about Emeka's decision, the choice that changed everything. Was it revenge? Was it justice? Maybe it was both. Maybe those lines blur when someone's been pushed too far for too long. What would you do if someone used your kindness as weakness? Tell us in the comments. Weeks turn into months. The studio grows slowly, steadily. Word spreads not through advertisements, but through stories. Couples telling friends, friends telling families, families telling colleagues. The videographer who was humiliated became the videographer who stood for something. Not everyone understands. Some people still ask, but wasn't it wrong to expose him like that? Tunde never knows how to answer. He settles on honesty. I didn't want it to happen, but I can't pretend it didn't need to. One afternoon, a young woman enters the studio. She's nervous, wringing her hands, looking around like she's not sure she belongs. "Can I help you?" Tunde asks gently. I worked for Mr. Desmond years ago, before everything." Tunde's expression doesn't change, but his chest tightens. "Okay, I just wanted to say thank you. He owed me 3 months' salary when I quit. Told me if I made noise about it, He'd ruin my career. I stayed quiet because I was scared. But after what happened with you, I filed a claim. Got my money back last week. Her eyes fill with tears. I know people say what your assistant did was wrong, but it gave people like me courage. It gave us permission to speak. So, thank you. She leaves before Tunde can respond, pressing a small envelope into his hand. Inside is a handwritten note. Keep fighting. We're watching. He shows it to Emeka later. Emeka reads it twice, his jaw working. Still think I crossed a line? Yeah, Tunde says quietly, but maybe some lines need crossing. That's not what you said before. I know. I'm still figuring out what I believe. Emeka folds the note carefully, hands it back. That's fair. Just don't regret it for me. I don't regret it for us. I don't regret where we are. I regret how we got here. Can't have one without the other. Tunde doesn't argue. Some truths don't have neat answers. The studio takes on new projects. Not just weddings anymore, proposals, anniversaries, family reunions. A local church hires them to film their founder's memorial. A school wants documentation of their graduation. Each job is different, each story unique. Tunde treats them all with the same care. He listens before he films. He asks questions. He tries to understand what matters most to the people in front of his camera. One evening, as he's packing up from a shoot, his phone rings. Unknown number. He almost declines, then answers anyway. Tunde? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. Yes? This is Miriam, Desmond's ex-wife. His breath catches. Oh, I hope it's okay that I called. Your number is everywhere now. It's fine. What can I do for you? Silence stretches. Then softly, I wanted to apologize. For what? For not speaking up sooner. I saw how he treated you, how he treated everyone. I should have said something, but I was scared and ashamed. You don't need to apologize to me. I do, though, because my silence made it easier for him to keep hurting people. I'm trying to be better now, braver, and part of that is acknowledging the times I wasn't. Tunde sits on the edge of his car, phone pressed to his ear, searching for the right words. We all do what we can to survive. You don't owe me anything. Maybe not, but I'm grateful anyway. For what you and your assistant did, it freed me too. I hope you're doing okay now. I am. Better than okay. I'm remembering who I was before I met him. It's nice. They talk for a few more minutes. She asks about his mother, about the studio, about his plans. He asks about her recovery, her family, her future. When they hang up, Tunde feels lighter somehow, like another piece of the story has found its ending. Comment where you're watching from and tell us if this feels right to you. His mother's health continues to improve. The doctors are amazed by her progress. What they don't see is the weight that lifted from her shoulders, the weight of fear, of shame, of powerlessness. She laughs more now, cooks more, fusses over Tunde more. You need to eat better, she scolds, stirring a pot of stew in his small kitchen. You work too much, says the woman who worked 3 jobs to raise me. That was different. I was young. You're still young. She swats him with a wooden spoon, smiling. Flatterer. He helps her set the table, and they eat together in comfortable silence. The apartment feels less cramped now. Or maybe it's the same size, but they carry less weight. Are you happy? She asks suddenly. Tunde considers the question. Happy feels like too simple a word for what he feels. Relief? Yes. Purpose? Yes. Peace, maybe. But happy? I'm content, he settles on. That's enough. She reaches across the table, takes his hand. My son, my good, kind son, the world tried to break you. It came close, but you didn't let it. I had help. She squeezes his hand. We all need help. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Later that night, after she's gone home, Tunde sits in the studio alone. It's become his habit, staying late, working on projects, organizing files. But tonight, he's not working, just sitting, thinking. He thinks about the boy he was, growing up in that cramped apartment, watching his mother struggle, vowing to make things better. He thinks about the young man who bought his first camera with borrowed money, who taught himself editing from YouTube videos, who dreamed of capturing beauty in a world that often felt ugly. He thinks about every wedding he filmed where the couple barely acknowledged him, every event where he was treated like furniture, every time someone asked for a discount, promised exposure, or paid him less than agreed, because that's just business. He thinks about Desmond, about the watch that was never stolen, about his mother in handcuffs, about crumpled bills thrown at his feet, and he thinks about Emeka, about a young man angry enough to fight battles Tunde couldn't, about courage that looked like recklessness, but might have been the only kind of courage that worked. His phone buzzes, a notification. Someone tagged the studio in a post, "Best wedding videographer in the city." Not just because of the work, because of the heart behind it. Lens of Truth Studios. More tags, more posts, more people sharing their experiences, their stories, their gratitude. Tunde scrolls through them, his chest tight with something he can't name. Pride, maybe, or vindication, or just relief that the universe occasionally balances itself out. He locks up the studio, walks home through familiar streets. The neighborhood is quieter now, late enough that most people are inside. Streetlights cast long shadows. Somewhere a dog barks, somewhere a baby cries. Life in all its messy, beautiful complexity. When he reaches his door, he pauses. Looks back at the path he walked. The same path he's walked 1,000 times. But tonight, it feels different. Like he's moving forward instead of just surviving. Inside, he checks his messages one last time before bed. One stands out. "Hi, I'm getting married next spring. I don't have much money, but I've been following your story. Would you consider filming our wedding? It would mean everything to us." He types back immediately. "Let's talk. I'm sure we can work something out." Another message comes through. "Thank you. You don't know what this means to us." But he does know, because he remembers being the person who couldn't afford things, who had to choose between pride and survival, who learned that sometimes the world is kinder than it seems if you're brave enough to ask. He sets his phone aside, lies down, and closes his eyes. Sleep comes easier now. The nightmares have faded. The anxiety has loosened its grip. He's not healed completely. Healing takes time, but he's better. And better is enough. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Months later, the studio hosts a small gathering. Not a celebration exactly, but an acknowledgement. Clients, former colleagues, friends, family. People who supported them when everything fell apart. Tunde's mother sits in a chair near the front, beaming with pride. Emeka moves through the crowd, shaking hands, thanking people for coming. The space is crowded but warm, filled with laughter and conversation. Someone asks Tunde to say a few words. He hesitates, but Emeka nudges him forward. He stands awkwardly at the front, hands in his pockets, unsure where to look. "I'm not good at speeches." "You're a storyteller," someone calls out. "Tell a story." He smiles nervously. "Okay, I'll tell you a story about a camera." The room quiets. When I started this work, I thought the camera was just a tool. Point, shoot, capture. But I learned it's more than that. A camera sees what we miss. It captures moments we forget. It tells truths we're afraid to speak. He pauses, gathering his thoughts. A few months ago, a camera told a truth I didn't want told. It exposed something I would have rather kept hidden. Not because the truth was wrong, but because I was afraid of what it would cost. People shift in their seats, listening intently. But that camera, and the person behind it, taught me something. Sometimes truth costs everything. And sometimes that's exactly what it should cost. Because the alternative, silence, fear, complicity, That costs even more. He looks at Emeka, who nods slightly. I won't stand here and say everything that happened was right. I won't say I'm comfortable with how things unfolded, but I will say this. I'm grateful. Grateful for the people who stood with us. Grateful for the courage I didn't have, but others did. Grateful for second chances and fresh starts, and the stubborn belief that good things can come from broken places. His voice cracks slightly. He clears his throat. So thank you for being here, for believing in us, for reminding us that we're not alone. Applause fills the small studio. His mother wipes tears from her eyes. Emeka grins, clapping louder than anyone. Afterward, people linger. They share their own stories of standing up to injustice, of finding courage, of choosing truth over comfort. The studio becomes a space of connection, of shared experience, of collective healing. An older man approaches Tunde, shakes his hand firmly. I was there that night, at the after party. Tunde tenses slightly. Oh, I worked for Desmond for 15 years, watched him ruin careers, destroy reputations, crush anyone who stood in his way. That night, when the truth came out, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. What's that? Hope. That maybe the universe keeps score after all. The man walks away before Tunde can respond, leaving him standing there with those words echoing in his mind. Maybe the universe keeps score after all. As the evening winds down and guests begin to leave, Emeka helps Tunde clean up. They stack chairs, sweep floors, dispose of empty cups. Good turnout, Emeka says. Yeah. Didn't expect this many people. People love a good redemption story. Is that what this is? What else would you call it? Tunde thinks for a moment. Survival. Survival's not as sexy. No, but it's honest. They finish cleaning in silence. The studio looks bigger when it's empty, the walls echoing their movements. Tunde turns off most of the lights, leaving just one small lamp glowing in the corner. You ever think about what comes next? Emeka asks. Next? After this, after the studio, what's the dream now? Tunde leans against a desk, considers the question. I don't know if I have big dreams anymore, just small ones. Pay bills on time, keep mama healthy, help young filmmakers avoid the mistakes I made. Maybe that's enough. That's more than enough. What about you? Still angry? Emeka shrugs. Less than before. Anger burns out eventually. What's left is just purpose, I guess. Doing good work, treating people right, building something that matters. Sounds like wisdom. Sounds like I've been hanging around you too long. They lock up and walk out together. The night air is cool, refreshing after the warmth of the crowded studio. Stars are barely visible through the city lights, but they're there, distant and constant. Thanks, Tunde says suddenly. For what? For being brave when I couldn't be. For crossing the line I wouldn't. For everything. Emeka stops walking, turns to face him. You were always brave, Tunde. You just had a different kind of bravery. The kind that endures. The kind that doesn't break, even when it should. Maybe? Not maybe. Definitely. They part ways at the corner, heading to their respective homes. Tunde walks slowly, in no rush. The streets feel safer now, or maybe he just carries less fear. When he reaches his apartment, his mother is waiting on the small bench outside, wrapped in a shawl despite the mild weather. What are you doing out here? Waiting for you. You should be resting. I've been resting for months. Tonight, I wanted to wait for my son. He sits beside her, and they watch the street in comfortable silence. A car passes. A couple walks by, holding hands. Somewhere, music plays from an open window. I'm proud of you, she says softly. You've said that. I'll keep saying it until you believe it. I believe it. Good. They sit together until she starts to shiver, then he helps her inside. She moves slower than she used to, but steadier. The illness didn't break her. Nothing did. He makes tea and they sit at the small table. Steam rises from their cups, curling in the lamplight. Do you forgive him? She asks suddenly. Desmond? Yes. Tunde stares into his cup. Does he forgive? Can he forgive? Should he? I don't think about him much anymore, he says finally. Maybe that's its own kind of forgiveness. Letting go of the anger. Moving forward. But if you saw him tomorrow, what would you say? Nothing. There's nothing left to say. She nods slowly. Sometimes the best revenge is building a life they can't touch. Is that revenge? Call it whatever helps you sleep at night. He smiles despite himself. His mother, always practical, always wise. They finish their tea, and he helps her to bed. She settles in with a sigh of contentment, pulling the blanket to her chin. I love you. Mama, I love you more. Now sleep. You have weddings to film. He turns off her light, retreats to his own small corner. The laptop sits waiting, but tonight he doesn't open it. Instead, he lies down and lets exhaustion pull him under. His dreams are quiet. No nightmares, no fears, just the gentle drift of sleep, carrying him through the night. Morning comes with golden light. Tunde wakes to the smell of cooking. His mother, up early despite his protests, making breakfast. He joins her in the kitchen, and they eat together, while news plays softly in the background. The anchor mentions Desmond's name in passing. Something about bankruptcy proceedings, asset liquidation. Tunde's mother reaches over, turns down the volume. You don't need to hear that. It's okay. Doesn't bother me anymore. Good. Because that man took enough from us, he doesn't get your piece, too. Wise words. Words Tunde carries with him as he heads to the studio. The day unfolds in familiar rhythms. Clients come and go. Phone calls about bookings, questions about packages, requests for quotes. Emeka arrives late, apologizing, blaming traffic. They review footage together, critique each other's work, laugh at old mistakes. It's ordinary, beautifully, perfectly ordinary. Around noon, a young couple enters. They're shy, holding hands tightly, looking around with wonder. Is this the place from the news? The young woman asks. Tunde smiles gently. It is. We want you to film our wedding, if you have availability. When's the date? They tell him. He checks the calendar. They're in luck. He's free. Perfect. Let's talk about what you're looking for. They sit, and the couple explains their vision. Simple, intimate, just family and close friends. Nothing extravagant. They don't have much money, but they want to remember the day. Tunde quotes them a fair price. They exhale in relief, then look at each other nervously. We saw online that you sometimes work with couples who can't afford full price. He holds up a hand, stopping them. Tell me your budget. Let's see what we can do. They name a number far below his usual rate. Emeka shoots him a look, a warning not to go too low. But Tunde sees himself in this couple, sees the hope and fear and desperate desire to make something beautiful despite limited means. We can work with that, he says. The couple's faces light up. Really? Really. Love is love, regardless of budget. They book the date, leave with smiles so wide they seem to glow. After they're gone, Emeka shakes his head. You can't keep doing that. Doing what? Undercharging. Being too generous. We're doing fine. We could be doing better. Better isn't always more, Emeka. Emeka sighs but doesn't argue. Some battles aren't worth fighting. The weeks pass in a blur of work. Weddings, proposals, anniversaries. Each one different, each one meaningful. Tunde films them all with the same care, the same attention to detail, the same belief that every love story deserves to be told well. One Saturday, he's filming a wedding in a modest church when he notices an older couple in the back row. They're not dressed formally, just simple clothes, holding hands, watching the ceremony with tears in their eyes. During a break, Tunde approaches them. Are you family of the bride or groom? The woman shakes her head. Neither. We just like attending weddings. Reminds us of our own. 50 years ago. 50 years? 52 this December? We were poor then. No photographer, no video. Just memories. Tunde feels something shift in his chest. Would you like me to film something for you? A short video? Just the two of you talking about your love story? They look at each other, surprised. We couldn't pay. No charge. Consider it a gift. You've been married 52 years. That's worth celebrating. They agree, shy but delighted. After the wedding wraps, Tunde spends 30 minutes with them. He films them holding hands, talking about how they met, their struggles, their joys, their 5 children and 12 grandchildren. When he's done, the man shakes his hand. Thank you. Our grandchildren will love this. It was my honor. Driving home that night, Tunde feels something he hasn't felt in a long time. Not just contentment, but genuine happiness. The kind that comes from giving without expecting return. From using his gifts to serve others. From remembering why he started this work in the first place. Back at the studio, he uploads the footage. While it processes, he scrolls through his phone. Messages from satisfied clients. Reviews praising his work. Inquiries about availability. One message stands out. My brother's getting married next year. Heard you're the best in the city. Would love to discuss booking. He responds professionally, schedules a consultation, and adds it to his calendar. The future looks busy, full, promising. Emeka enters through the back door carrying food. Brought dinner. Figured you'd be here late. You figured right. They eat together, talking about upcoming projects, equipment needs, marketing ideas. The conversation flows easily. Partners who've learned to trust each other, who've been through fire and came out stronger. You ever regret it? Tunde asks again. The same question from months ago. Emeka's answer is different this time. Every day, and not at all. That doesn't make sense. Makes perfect sense. I regret the pain it caused, the chaos, the way it exploded, but I don't regret the outcome. Sometimes messy is the only path to clean. Tunde nods slowly. He's starting to understand. Life isn't neat. Justice isn't clean. Truth is often ugly before it's beautiful. I think I'm learning to make peace with it, Tunde says. Good. Peace looks good on you. They finish eating and return to work. Hours pass. The city outside grows quiet. The studio stays lit. 2 men working side by side, building something that matters. Around midnight, Tunde saves his final file and leans back in his chair. Emeka is already asleep on the small couch in the corner, snoring softly. Tunde doesn't wake him, just turns off the lights, locks the door from inside, and settles into his own chair. He closes his eyes, and for the first time in years, maybe ever, he feels completely at peace. The camera that spoke didn't just expose a villain. It freed everyone in its path. The guilty, the innocent, the silent, the brave. And in that freedom, something beautiful was born. Not perfection, not wealth, not fame, just truth. Just dignity. Just love captured honestly, without pride, without pretense. In the darkness of the studio, Tunde whispers the words that have become his mantra, his mission, his promise. Now we capture love, never pride. The words settle into the silence, a benediction and a vow. Outside, the city sleeps. Inside, 2 men rest easy, knowing they've built something worth building. Something that will outlast them. Something that speaks truth, even when it's hard. The camera sits on the shelf, lens cap on, waiting for tomorrow's stories. And tomorrow will come. With new couples, new love, new moments to preserve. But tonight, there is only peace. Hard-won, honest, real. Tunde sleeps, and for the first time in forever, his dreams are filled with light. If you made it this far, then you've seen how pride can bury love and how truth never stays silent forever. But tell me, if you were behind that camera, would you have kept quiet or pressed play? Comment your answer below and hit subscribe, because how you respond says more about who you are than you think. And wherever you're watching from, remember, justice might take time, but it always finds light.